And we are going to get started. So glad you guys are here. It's one of my favorite topics, which is authentic marketing. Today, we're not only going to talk about what it means to do authentic marketing, we're going to talk about how to do it, but we're also going to talk about the big issue, which is the resistance to doing it. And we just believe that authentic marketing is the path to sustainable growth. A little bit about me. I have been a growth person for a long time. I was president of an internet company that did a public offering, an IPO on the NASDAQ stock exchange. Left shortly, a couple of years after that, built another company and sold it, and then had this crazy idea that I was going to use my business growth skills to make the world better, which has a lot to do with today's topic because I failed a lot figuring out how to grow businesses authentically. But I did build a profitable portfolio that makes a huge impact. We invest in companies through our speculator fund. So here's an example of an investment. It's called Your Izzy. It's the first zero waste makeup line. And it's one of my favorite products and one of my favorite investments. And then in addition to that, we cultivate and create our own companies. And we have 5, and Shifco is business number 5. Today, I spend about 50 to 55% of my time in Shifco serving entrepreneurs. I love to do it. I live to do it. And we offer 3 events a month. 2 of them are around growing your business. So these next 2 will be around that. And then one of them is personal fuel. So we do 3 events. One of them is personal confidence, prosperity, mindset, speeding up success. And then the other 2 are related to the blocking and tackling of growing your business. On September 10th, we're doing something called the 10K Challenge. This is a free event. If your business is not above 10K a month, you can do the 10K Challenge. I know several people are here that previously have joined that. And they are now doing the 10K Challenge inside of Shifco. But it's a great event to really look at what does it actually take to get a business above 10K. The Difference Maker Toolkit is really powerful. It's based on 4 years of research on what does it actually take to make a difference. And one of the things that it takes is growing your business authentically. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Throughout today's session, I will stop and take questions throughout at specific times before we move to each of the sections. And then at the end, I'll turn off the recording and we'll take a lot more questions at the end as well. So feel free to pop your questions in the chat or ask them as we go. So the first thing to understand is that growth is impact. That when we want to make a bigger impact in the world, it really does require growing our business. So the business needs to grow in order for our impact to increase. Shifco has helped hundreds of entrepreneurs grow their business. In fact, 84.9% of our members double their revenue within about a year, sometimes 2. It's not 100% yet, but someday it will be. I'm committed to making sure that it eventually is. And what we found is there's 5 things that you really need, or 4 things that you need to ensure that your impact is increasing. One is a commitment to personal growth. Second is to know your why and to measure your why. Third is to be able to articulate your value. And then 4th is to have a strategy and a set of intentions to grow your business. So today we're really working on that aspect. Now, how do we get here? So 30 years in my corporate and entrepreneurial career, I did nothing but grow businesses. I had a growth strategy firm for 7 years that had some of the largest brands in the world that were clients of mine, and I grew their businesses. So when I start this purposeful Shark Tank called Share on Purpose, I'm like, piece of cake. Now I'm going to use these business growth skills to help make the world better. And I failed miserably. What I learned is that the things that I used to do and teach and sell as a business growth consultant that would grow businesses did not work when I was trying to grow something that mattered. That was really hard to accept. And I recognize that, value is good, purpose is good, especially when it grows. But the way that I grew my previous businesses prior to 2008, the way I've grown thousands of businesses, large and small, Texas Instruments, Target, American Airlines was a client for a while, Holy Guacamole, had all these marquee clients, and we were known as the place that you went to put growth strategies in place. It didn't work when I was trying to grow a business of impact or a business of purpose. That was really hard to accept. I lost a lot of money figuring this out. But one of my quotes is that if you want something better, you have to be willing to do something different. So I live by this mantra. I've lived by this mantra since I was a little kid trying to get out of the trailer park and the dysfunction that was my life. I lived this quote that if I want something better, I have to be willing to do something different. So when I beat my head against the wall hard enough and say, okay, why don't my ClickFunnels and lead magnets work? Well, they don't work because they're not authentic. So I began the process in 2011 after two plus years failing at growing things of purpose, things that were meaningful. None of the things that I used to do worked to grow something authentically. So I said, all right, I got to think about it different. I got to go back to the drawing board. And that's when things really changed for me. So I'm going to start first with the typical marketing funnel. And there's lots of different formats for these, but in a typical marketing funnel, it's shaped like a funnel. And at the very top of the funnel, let's use Apple, these new, they're not new, but they're new for me. So these little iPod thingies for your ears, I don't remember what they're called, but the little microphone speaker things for your ears. I became aware of these a couple of years ago when they came out because I'm an Apple fan and I was following, oh, wow, that looks cool. These are really neat. They're shaped neat. What's so unique? Expensive. Why are they so expensive? And, okay, and I went to the Best Buy and I tried them on and I'm like, well, they do fit better than the other ones I'm using, but they're awfully expensive. So I became aware of this product, this Mac product, this Apple product, but I didn't buy them. And Apple spent a lot of money making me aware that they had this new product. Now, the thing of it is, the real trick is that I was interested in them, but I was having trouble spending $150 for these when I had a perfectly good little wireless headset. I was like, oh, this thing is, $40 or $50 and these guys are $150, but I'm interested. So I was still tuning in. And then desire is at some point we want that product. And then eventually action is when we actually take action to buy it. So this is a typical marketing funnel. And the first thing that I would say is entrepreneurs, we forget that the vast majority of marketing dollars when somebody is advertising is spent on awareness. Apple spends tens of millions of dollars making you aware of its new products, but that doesn't mean I'm going to buy it. And so this idea of a funnel, one, we forget that awareness is the game. That is the thing that we have to do. And as entrepreneurs, we need 10 times more people to be aware about what we're doing than we have today. And that's the trick. The problem with typical marketing funnels is the goal or the intention is to get someone to buy. That is where the inauthenticity really fits in. So if somebody is saying, here's your ClickFunnels product, and if you use my product, you're going to get sales, you need to understand that a ClickFunnels and a lead magnet, it is starting with an inauthentic intention, because the goal is to get someone to buy. An authentic intention is the goal is to let more people be aware that I exist. So that is the first most important point. Your intention when you're doing authentic marketing is not to get someone to buy. Watch your language, watch your actions, watch the tools, watch your techniques. If your goal and intention is to get someone to buy, out of the gate, you're being authentic. Just pivot that to my goal, my intention is to ensure more people are aware that I exist. So what I quickly figured that out. So I quickly realized, okay, that's my mistake, is I'm trying to get people to buy. That's not authentic. It worked when I was marketing, holy guacamole. And so I started saying, let me think about this differently. What did we do with Holy Guacamole when we launched that product for them? What did we do to really grow revenue 4x, 5x in the first year that we launched that brand for them? It was like we really focused on awareness. We didn't try to get people to buy. And Holy Guacamole was my first exposure to, and they were a client of my marketing company back in the day. It was my first exposure to really working with the conscious brand. They made decisions differently. And so we pivoted our marketing strategy to just an awareness building a strategy. The goal of the campaigns that we were running was awareness. It wasn't sales. Our belief, and the CEO of the business and their leadership team believed that if more people became aware of this new brand and this great product that they had, that we helped them with the rebranding Holy Guacamole, that if they became aware of it, they would eventually be interested, they eventually would want it, and they would eventually try it. And it worked. So that was ding, 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 ding. Number one is, instead of my goal being to get someone to buy, the goal should be to spend time and resources to increase awareness. So that was very obvious for me. It was like, okay, got it. And then I tweaked some of what I was doing, but I still was finding myself trying to get people to buy. Now, I probably needed people to buy back then. So this was 2009, 2010. I probably needed people to buy. I probably was feeling pressure because I was losing money, to get people to buy. So sure, okay. So I started realizing of the shape of the funnel. And I thought, it's the shape of the funnel that's contributing to this inauthentic desire to get people to buy. I need to pivot that and set my intention to growing awareness. But when I think about it in terms of a funnel, I get all discombobulated and I get back to put them in the funnel and pull them down the funnel, right? That's the purpose of ClickFunnels and lead magnets, is get them in the funnel and pull them down so that they buy, which is very, very inauthentic. So that was kind of ding number two, is the shape of this funnel, which I've been doing. I've been a corporate or an entrepreneurial consultant doing growth stuff since I was 26. I'm almost 60 now. I've been doing this funnel stuff for a long time, but it's not authentic. And when you're marketing an authentic product, it just doesn't work. So I asked myself this question: how can I create more demand, but do so in an authentic way? And the conclusion was, not only do I need set my intention to building awareness, but I need to toss out the picture of a funnel, because when I see it in terms of a funnel, I get this drive to try to get someone to buy. So I began with this question of, all right, I want to figure out how to serve my buyer before they buy. I want to figure out how to build a relationship with them. I want to be a gift to them. And if they buy, they buy. If they buy, they buy. I'm not going to have any attachment to that. Easier said than done. So I started thinking about, how can I reframe this as a relationship? Now, keep in mind, if some of you have seen this before, remember, in a second, we're going to pivot over to why do we not do what we need to do. So just know we're going to work on resistance if you've seen this before. If you haven't seen it before, you're going to understand why it's so effective. So I took those four things: aware, interest, desire, and act. So let me go back to the funnel: aware, interest, desire, and act. And I took them out of the funnel and I said, okay, what would I call the stage of our relationship if you were aware? So I'm going to use you guys as an example. A couple of you are already ShiftCo members. Several of you are not. Right now, you are aware that ShiftCo exists, and you're sampling one of our methods, and you're deciding whether or not you're interested in learning more. So I would say, in the world of social media, we're friends. Maybe we're connected on LinkedIn. Maybe you're following ShiftCo. We're just friends. Not like friends when I was a kid. Friends were like friends for life. My second grade best friend is still one of my best friends today. Not friends like that, but social media friends, right? We're friends. We're aware that each other exists. If once we're aware, I'm like, wow, that's really good. Well, now I'm going to actually follow and I'm going to see what you're posting. I'm going to see what else you got. I'm not going to buy, but I'm going to be a follower. And we call this friends who follow. And then ultimately, when somebody starts to want to buy, they become a fan. And maybe they'll dig a little deeper. Maybe they'll buy once, but they start to really want to buy, and the behavior changes just a little bit. And then finally is when somebody acts, if it's good, they will evolve into a fanatic. And a fanatic is somebody that renews their membership each month. They buy again from you. They refer other people. So once I took this giant step back, tossed out the funnel, just wrote down aware, interest, desire, and act, and said, let me think about this in terms of stages of our relationship. And then I got it. I'm like, oh, wow, I need to focus on growing the relationship with people rather than trying to get people to buy. So I threw out the funnel and I created this little map. And I said, okay, now we're not going to think about it in terms of a funnel. We're going to think about it in terms of stages of our relationship. So right now we're friends. You're meeting me, you clicked on something. Now maybe you're connecting, you're learning more, you're attending today's session, or you're dialing in. I think there's about 20 more people that will listen to this recording. Maybe now you're like, wow, that was really good. I think I want to attend another session that they have. And that is, we go from friend to follower, fan to fanatic. So in a minute, we're going to talk about resistance. Why do we not do what we need to do? But let me frame this further. So aware and interested is friend and follower. And then that is basically marketing. So marketing is really about awareness. So if you put a marketing campaign in place, and I have 2 marketing companies hire us, they hire us to grow awareness, but that takes time. And we get very impatient, which is one of the reasons why there's resistance. So awareness and interest is marketing. Fan to fanatic, desire and act, that is selling. And if you want to know more about that, we did a session last month on authentic selling. You can find that on our YouTube page. We're not going to focus on that right now. We're just going to focus on this front part of the relationship, friend to follower. The better you get at growing friends who follow, the faster your business will grow, not fan to fanatic. So people think, I got to get better at selling. No, you don't. The first thing you've got to get better at doing is marketing, which is creating friends who follow. Here's the rub, and this is why resistance is such an important thing to tackle, which we're going to move into in a minute. 70% of your time as an entrepreneur needs to be spent growing awareness. 70% of the time that you dedicate to growing your business, which should be 30 to 40% of your total week, 70% of that should be spent growing awareness. That means networking, posting on social media, being on podcasts, out there speaking. 70% of the time that you're spending to grow your business, not service your customers, needs to be spent on awareness. Wow. Well, how many of you are spending 70% of that time? Probably not, which is why we're going to cover resistance in a minute. 25%, who can do the math, 25% needs to be spent on connecting and extending the relationship with the people that are now aware. So for example, somebody attends an event. You'll probably see me reach out to you on LinkedIn and get to know you better. I'm not going to ask you to buy. I'm just going to get to know you better. Let's have a meeting. Let me learn more about what you do. I give you some more tips, invite you to some more events. So now we're talking 95% of our time that we have dedicated to growing our business needs to be spent in awareness and interest, building those relationships. 5% of your time is on selling. Whoa, shocker, shocker, shocker. But the beautiful thing is, if if the value is high, your customers are going to return and refer. Almost 70 to 75% of our members come from referrals. It used to be 90% when we first started. The first 2-3 years, it was about 90%. Today, it's about 70 because we're doing more marketing. So what happens is if you do this well, your customers will return and your customers will refer. But I want to focus in on this 70%. This, is not surprising. So most of you will say, yeah, I know that. But we don't do it. And we don't do it for 2 reasons. One, it's difficult to do things where we don't get an immediate result. This takes time. Just like it took Apple 18 months to continue to market and build a relationship with me before I bought these little guys, it takes time, and we are creatures of instant gratification. We want a solution now. The second thing is it takes effort. It's like swimming upstream. It's not natural for us. It's a habit that we've got to build so that it's as natural as me filling my cup of water. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to give you some ideas of awareness building activities. I'm going to show you a way to do it. And then we're going to shift over and we're just going to talk about resistance. How do we break the negative resistance that we have in the business? And then we're going to come back to the strategy and we're going to blow it out and work through some techniques in more detail. Before I do that, does anyone have any questions about what I've covered so far? All right, I'm going to keep going. So it's 3 steps now.
I do, actually. I'm sorry.
Go for it, Laura.
This might be a little further along the line, but I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about evaluating which awareness building activities are the most worthwhile, because I've definitely gone through a whole journey with that in my own business without getting into too many details.
Yeah.
I ended up pulling back from going to certain networking groups because I realized that the vast majority of my best clients were not going to be there.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm definitely going to be covering it 3 times 3 ways because that is part of it. So let's put a pin in that. I'm going to be covering that. And I'm glad you asked that. So first, you hit the nail on the head. Where are they? This is where they are tuned in. So what you have to ask yourself, is your target market, the person you love working with, at the places you're networking? Frequently, they are not. And I see this happen all the time where people sign up to be on a board of some networking group and they're networking away and connecting. And 2 years into it, they realize none of the people they're networking with is in their target market. And they just wasted all this time. So that's the first thing, regardless of the technique that you choose, which we'll get to in a minute, the activity that you use, your target market must be there. They must be tuned in. So if you're speaking on a podcast, are the people that you want to serve on that, listening to that podcast? If you're speaking at an event, are the people you want to serve attending that event? If you're networking, are the people you want to serve in that group? If you're posting on social media, are you posting to the people who are in your target market? If you're networking virtually in groups, digital networking, are you in groups where your target market is? So that is critical. You have to go to them. And that is one of the places we get resistance. We just want to, let me just post on my page. Well, guess what? All those people are already aware that you exist. If I'm already following you on social media, I'm already aware of you, but that posting that you're doing is not reaching the people that you're not tuned into. Or if you're networking and your folks are not there, you're wasting your time. And I made the same mistake. I networked places where I used to network, and lo and behold, the kinds of companies that I was serving weren't there. So that is huge. You got to know where they are, and you've got to ruthlessly look at your time, because we need that time to be spent well. Is the time that I'm spending building awareness with my target market? And if it's not, you got to rethink that. So that's number 1. Secondly is the activities. These are the activities that you do. The secret to this is to do things you enjoy. If you don't if you don't enjoy writing blogs, don't write them. If you don't enjoy networking, I'm a huge introvert. I don't enjoy networking. I'd now maybe do it once a quarter. I don't do it, right? I find other ways that are more fun for me. I speak on podcasts. I do events like this. I do virtual networking, which is a lot more fun. So I'm in a lot of WhatsApp groups and places where I don't have to meet people because I'm an introvert. And I mean, I'm a high off the chart introvert. I know that surprises people. I am off the charts introvert. I'm one of those people that I'm just going to go at the back of the room and just sit back there because I just am painfully shy and painfully get worn out when I'm around a lot of people. So I don't do that. So that's the second thing is you've got to do things that you enjoy. All this thing about this is the way you have to do it with ClickFunnels and lead magnets, and you got to post this way and you got to do that. It's BS. It's not authentic. So A, where are your people, the people you want to serve? And B, what are the activities that you actually like? Now I'm going to give you a list of some activities to get you started. And then we're going to jump into this resistance thing. You've got to enjoy the activities. Third is you've got to have a way to grow the relationship. I'm going to save that till the very end. Okay, so let's talk about, so where are they? You've got to know where they are. And secondly, what are the activities? So I'm going to talk about activities first. Priority channels are the places I always start. So when I start a business, the first thing I do is I look at my Rolodex, I look at my LinkedIn connections and say, who are the people that I need to talk to about this? Now, I'm not going to talk to them about getting them to buy. I'm just going to tell them what I'm up to. So I always start with the warm market of people that know, like, and trust me. And typically when I start a new business, almost all of my first clients come from my Rolodex. You can tell how old I am. I'm almost 60. I'm using the word Rolodex. Almost all of my initial customers come from people that know me, but I don't reach out to everybody. I reach out to the people that are in the target market. Shiftco started that way. We started with about 25 members. They were all people that I reached out to and told them what we were up to and said, hey, check it out. There was no pressure to buy. It was very, very authentic, and people joined, and then they brought other people and so on and so forth. The second thing that I do is I typically offer some discounts, like when I'm building something, the early Shiftco members, I think the first 2 months, they were able to enroll for $25 a month for life. Today it's $235 a month. And then it went up to 50 as we got more of the pieces built. So when you're in the early stages, offer things at a discount and just say, look, hey, you want to try it? Let's try it and see what happens. My third thing, and I use this a lot, is I create leave behind cards. So this is one for Shiftco, and it's got a fun little quote on it, a little picture. Everywhere I go, every time I go shopping, every time I'm at the gas station, I leave some of these little cards behind. And again, there's no offer on here. There's no buy now. It's just a quote. We create a better world when consciousness replaces competitiveness and profit is fueled by purpose. And it's got a QR code on there. Leave these everywhere. I do this for every business. So those are easy things to do. Relationship, live networking, LinkedIn and Facebook groups. If you're an introvert, check out LinkedIn and Facebook groups for your target market. I do a lot of my effective networking and things like that. Referral activities, ask for referrals, give referral discounts, educational blog posts, webinars, tools. This is an example of one of those: digital, social, speaking, so on and so forth. You want to choose from this list first, but you only want to do things that you enjoy. Again, if you don't enjoy writing blog posts, don't do it. If you don't like to speak, don't do it. If you don't like to network, you're an introvert like me, don't do it. But you need about 3 of these that you can do on a regular basis. And I'm going to come back to the resistance here in a minute, because these aren't rocket science. And again, this is about 10 to 15% of the possible things you could do. It just gives you some structure. There's also partners. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on that. And then there's what's called paid, which would be where you pay money. I'm not going to spend any money on that. But it just kind of gives you a good feel. Like partner channels would be being on a podcast. That's considered a partner channel because you're leveraging somebody else's network. We have a couple of partnerships. We have a partnership with Conscious Capitalism and B Lab and a couple of other groups. Those are great. We have, lots of different things that we do. We trade services. So those are all great. We sponsor some events sometimes. But all of these are focused on awareness building activities. So just kind of high level, pick a couple that sound interesting to you. And now I want to talk though about resistance, because this is not rocket science. If we were, really, really disciplined, we would choose 3 of these and just repeat them because they're all awareness building activities. Okay. So that's what you would do. The problem though is not that. The problem is we don't always do what we know we need to do. So although I know this framework I'm giving you is probably like landing like, oh, wow, breakthrough. Yeah. It's not rocket science. The problem is the resistance to actually doing it. And so I'm going to use myself. Food is my drug of choice. Anytime I'm stressed, rather than drinking or doing drugs, I eat unhealthy food. So I know that eating healthy is great. I've lost, I don't know, 40, 50 pounds in the last 18 months. And I had to change the behavior of when I get stressed, I go for the cheeseburger and French fries. Like I had to change my behavior. I had to eat healthy. As I started to eat healthy, I started working out. We know this, right? Well, guess what? As entrepreneurs, we know we should be doing demand generation activities. It's not rocket science. Why don't we do it? So I would love if you would either put in the chat or come off of mute and just own it. Like, why are you not doing the activities you know you should be doing? Who would like to share? And Lisa, if anybody puts things in the chat, if you could be my verbal Vanna and tell me what they are, that'd be great. Anybody want to share why you're not doing those demand generation activities?
I'll share. Laurel Carpenter. I'm a copywriter, and sometimes I used to be in BNI and I did a lot of networking, and I have had experiences where people were like, well, why would I hire you when I could do AI? I paid these people like low amounts of money to do my landing pages. And I get very discouraged when I hear those things. So that's one of the reasons I'm very picky about what networking groups I go to, and I don't always go when I get invited. And I feel like maybe that's not good. Maybe I should be putting myself out there more despite those rejections.
Yeah. So I would say 1 is, are they your target market? 2 is, if somebody rejects you and they don't understand the difference between effective copywriting and AI copywriting, they are not your target market. Say, oh, thanks. It's interesting you think that way because my customers value what I do. I would just own it and just say, there's 9 times more content out there in the last 2 years because of AI, but 1/3 the less readership. That's a new stat that came out. So 9 times more content, but 1/3 less being read. Why? Because it's not good, effective content. There's a stat you could put out there. My customers understand the difference between good, personable, authentic copywriting and chat GPT copywriting. End of story. You can say it nicely with a smile. Like, yeah, say it with a smile. That would be an example. So A, maybe they aren't your target market at those events, or B, maybe they just need a little education. It's not so much rejection. They just don't know that chat GPT content is not effective. It's good for some things, but it's not good for what you're talking about. I think you ought to, stand up a little bit and do some education. How does that feel for you, Laurel?
Well, I have tried that. And I would say that, like, I had a friend draft me to come to her predominantly male business owner group. And they were like, I get business through word of mouth. I don't need to update my terrible website. I know it's terrible. I don't really care. And I was like, okay, I'm just saying. And I did
Not
try
your
the
people.
education route. And I was like, okay, I'm never coming back to this group ever again.
Yeah, not your people. I completely agree. Not your people. The people that want to tell authentic stories, those are your people. And you might just have to look a little harder to find them.
I have had trouble with that. I'm just going to be honest. Like, I have had some challenges with that. And I've tried a lot of different things. I'm still going to try because I actually get my best referrals from other marketing people. And I am part of some groups that have given me wonderful clients, or referrals, I should say, not given me wonderful clients, that referrals that I have converted to clients. But anyways, I've said a lot, so I'll let someone else speak. But
Yeah, and if you remind me, I'll give you a list of some sources that we recommend where you're going to find authentic businesses that are going to understand the value. Not all of them, they'll understand the value, but maybe send me an email and remind me to do that. All right, anybody else? That was great. So rejection doesn't feel good. It's hard to find them. Totally agree with that. Anybody else want to share?
I just got burned out, in all honesty, when it came to LinkedIn and fighting the algorithm and trying to break the cycle and everything. I really got burned out. And so I ended up hiring a LinkedIn coach to kind of help me pass that, but not everybody can do that. So what do you do with burnout when you're just really exhausted and tired and don't know what else to do? And you just, yeah.
Yeah. I ask myself, what's burning me out? Is it the activity? Is it the fact that I'm doing the activity and I'm not getting a result? So it's really the why behind the what. Or I shift over and try something else for a while and just say, all right, this is burning me out. I'm going to try something else. As it relates to those algorithms, I don't believe in that, guys. I mean, you can play the Google algorithm game. You can play the LinkedIn, Facebook algorithm game. I don't believe in that. I post authentic content in my voice, what I want to talk about, when I want to talk about it. If you want to read it, great. If you don't, you don't. And I got a pretty good LinkedIn following. So try something different. Ask yourself why you're burned out. When we do things and we don't see a return, that burns us out. When we're doing things we don't really enjoy, that burns us out. And when we're doing only one thing, that burns us out. So those are typically the three reasons. Let's take one more and then we'll move forward. And I'm going to give you a little piece of research that might help.
I'll go.
Okay, Al.
Dovetails nicely with Laurel's copywriting thing. My biggest issue has been I don't know how to define who I want to work with, because there are people in the same sectors, in the same industries, at the same levels, making the same money, that I really don't like working with. And there are people in totally different sectors that I've never thought of working in that I absolutely love. As it seems to have nothing to do with the market segmentation in that sense, everything to do with personality, life journey, right, story, and figuring out how to define a channel where people with the stories that I want to tell also exist. Like I don't know, I struggle with that concept.
Yeah. So Al, what I want you to do, since you're a ShiftCo member, is I want you to email me and I'm going to walk you through an exercise to modify the niche so that it is more of what you want. So just send me an email and I'll walk you through that.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So let's move forward. So here's the thing. You're either in the habit of doing it or you're not. So there's not a middle ground. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter I got burnt out or I don't like it or they're not there. We have to remember it's about habits, just like eating healthy and working out. We're either in the habit of doing it or not. Now, don't beat yourself up. If you were in the habit of doing it, but you got frustrated for whatever reason, you just got frustrated. That's part of being an entrepreneur. And then what it means is we got to get back into the habit of doing it, just like eating healthy and working out. I got burned out on salads, and that gave me just enough of a window to go back to cheeseburger and French fries. And then the next thing you know, I eroded my healthy eating. I got burned out on chicken and vegetables. And the next thing you know, I started asking, can we have some candy in the thing? And one piece of candy at night turned into 3 pieces during the day. And then it turned into 5 pieces during the day. Next thing you know, I'm not losing weight. So we have to be really, really have to draw a hard and fast line. We're either in the habit of doing it or not. It doesn't matter why we got out of the habit of doing it, but if we're out of the habit of doing what we need to do, something has to change and we have to change it. So there's a piece of research that one of our members who leads a really powerful think tank at a university, and she's a ShiftCo member, and she was sharing with me, she has a book that's coming out from Yale Press on this research. And what she said is that the research shows you can't just change your beliefs about something. You can't just change your thoughts about something. You have to also change the behavior. And at first I was like, that's not true. You know, I'm a mindset person. I know all about mindset. And she's like, I'm telling you. And she shared with me a pre-release of her book. And I read the research and she's spot on. The empirical research says that you have to also change your behavior. So what that means is you can't just change your thoughts. You have to actually do something. So those of you that said you were burned out on LinkedIn, I get it. What are you going to do differently, right? What are you going to do differently? Not just how am I going to think about it differently? What am I going to do differently? For those of you that the networking thing was great, it didn't work out. What are you going to do differently? And so I've been thinking about this a lot because I thought about it both with my weight loss and fitness journal, but also with on the demand gen side. And I started thinking about what is it that causes, let me get these off of here real quick. So hopefully that little meeting invite's not coming up. I hate it when it does that. So what are you going to actually do different? Because we need strategies to break the resistance. So one, focus only on things that you enjoy. If you don't enjoy doing it, don't do it. In fact, lots of coaches and mentors are going to tell you you have to do it this way. Those of you that are ShipCode members know we do not believe that. We believe that you do it the way that works for you and that every single person is different. If you don't enjoy the people that you're networking with, don't go there. If you don't enjoy speaking, don't do it. If you don't enjoy posting on social media, don't do it. Now, you can try different things to see if you would like it. I didn't think I would like social media, and I love it. I spend a lot of time on it. So that's number one. That will break resistance. If you start enjoying it and you're like, hey, this is fun, I like this, then you'll do more of it. So that's number one. Number two is stop thinking so much about it and just start doing it. We can really get in our head and I got to do it perfect. And this person says, and the algorithm says, and all this kind of stuff. Stop it. Just get out there and do it. Remember, 70% of your time has to be spent growing awareness. Just start doing it. And if something doesn't work or you don't enjoy it, try something else. Third, schedule large time blocks and force yourself to do it. So what that means is don't try to squeeze it in between two meetings. Put a 1 hour or 2 hour time block on your calendar. I do this. It's on my calendar. And here's what happens. The time block comes up. I'm like, oh, I don't really feel like doing that right now. And I start the resistance. I can waste 30 minutes of a 2 hour time block going and filling my water, going to the bathroom, checking my email. And then eventually I'm like, Terri, you've wasted 30 minutes. You've got an hour and a half of this time block left. Just go do it. And I suck it up and I go do it. And before long, the habit comes back and I'm in the flow and now I'm back to doing it. So that's one of my go-to tricks. If the 1 hour time block doesn't work, I do a 2 hour time block and I just make myself do it after I get through that resistance. 4, we do this a lot in ShipCode. Find an accountability partner and that should be activities together. Do the activities together. We have a lot of people that pair up and they get on a Zoom for an hour and they say, okay, ready, set, go. And nobody says anything for an hour. Whatever their strategy is, they do it. And then every now and then they pipe in and they give themselves a little encouragement. How you doing? Yeah, I'm resistant. Okay, come on, you can do it. And, go back and do it again. So that's a really great strategy. Those of you that are doing the 10K challenge might want to also consider that. And then here's the thing. Our society has taught us we only get the rewards when we win the game. We only get the trophy when we win the game. In entrepreneurship, that's not true. I believe you should reward the actual doing because the outcome you don't have control over. The outcome you do not have control over. So what I will do when I do those activities is I will say, I'm going to fill my water jug and I'm going to put a little coconut stuff in there and sweeten it up after I do my demand generation, because that's one of my healthy rewards. Or I might have a piece of chocolate after I've done the activity, not whether or not I got a lead, not whether or not I got a sale, but after I forced myself to do the activity, I then reward myself. And, we're conditioned. So there's 5 really good strategies to break the resistance. I want to stop and see if there's any questions, and then we're going to go a little bit deeper on the strategy. Questions or additional ideas? Okay. So we have to get in the habit. Remember, we're either in the habit of doing it or we're not in the habit of doing it. There's no middle ground. Yes or no. I'm in the habit of doing it or I'm out of the habit. Don't beat yourself up. I am a masterful demand generation person. I'm the rainmaker for 2 companies, Shifco and one other company in our portfolio. I get out of the habit of doing it, but I recognize I'm out of the habit of doing it. It might go a week or it might go 2 weeks. And I got busy and made excuses. Yeah, didn't enjoy it as much, all the stuff that y'all talked about. And I use one of these strategies to get myself back in the habit. I don't let there be gray. You're either in the habit of doing it or you're out of the habit of doing it. No judgment if you're out of the habit, just get yourself back in the habit. Here's 5 strategies that will help you do that. So lastly, we're going to come back to this demand generation, and we're going to talk about mastering it. And our research shows empirically, you must master demand generation. You've got to be in the habit of it way more than not in order to be successful as an entrepreneur, and certainly as a conscious entrepreneur. And what that means is the marketing part is awareness and interest. 70% of your time has to be spent there, and 25% has to be cultivating the relationships from the people that just meet you. So that means if you meet somebody at a networking event and they're in your target market and you guys hit it off, they're aware, follow up with them, connect with them, suggest that you have a quick little coffee chat, whatever you want to call it. No pressure. Let me just get to know you better. You know, you tell me what you do. I tell you what you do. I tell you what I do. If you want to learn more, I'll tell you more, but just have those conversations. And the trick to that is to have a pure intention. If I reached out to you on LinkedIn, if I reached out and had a call with you, you must know there was no pressure to buy. It was simply making sure that I knew what you did, you knew what I did. And if something comes of it, great, there's no pressure. The trick is to not want everyone to buy. You see, I don't need everyone to buy. We get 10, 12 members a month. I want some of them to buy, but I don't need you to buy, right? So don't attach to an outcome you have no control over. You have no control over when and if someone buys. All you can control is the activities that you do to build the relationship. If they want to buy, notice where desire is. If they want to buy, they'll buy. You don't have any control over this, guys. You can, be better at it, but that ClickFunnels lead magnet stuff, I just don't believe it. It's inauthentic. What you do have control over is spending the time building the relationship. I get to know you, you get to know me. Now, maybe you're following me on LinkedIn, I'm following you on LinkedIn. At some point, if I know somebody who wants your services, I'm going to send them your way because I've gotten to know you. So that 95% of your time, that's where your focus is. And the intention just has to be pure. I want to make sure we're connected. I want to make sure we have a relationship. I want to get to know you. I'm going to keep notes on you, but I'm not trying to get you to buy. And having a pure intention, when I go speak at an event, I'm there to serve. When I'm on a podcast, I'm there to serve. When I'm doing this lesson right now, I'm here to serve. If you want to buy, great, let's have a conversation. But that cut the cord between the outcome, which is selling, and the relationship building, which is marketing. So that's the first part. And 5% of your time will be spent following up with the people that want to buy. The really important thing, if you get great at this here, people will let you know when they want to buy. They will let you know. You won't have to get someone to buy. Now, occasionally I'll send people notes and say, hey, my squad's closing. If you want to join, great. But it's not, its intention is still pure. I want to work with you. I want to let you know my squad's coming up. Great. But that pure intention, if you get great at these first 2 here on the left, people will let you know when they're ready to buy. And then if the value is high, they will return and refer. So last part of this is you just need to find more friends. That's all it really is where is your buyer now? You have to go where they are versus posting to people that know you. If you're networking and people already know you there and there's not new people coming in, it's not a good use of time. You got to go where your buyer is and where people are not aware. If you're posting on social media, all of the people connected to you on social media already know about you. You're reminding them you're there. How are you going to get new people to be aware of you? That's where you want to focus. Secondly, and this, I'm a big believer in this, what is information that you can share? I'm going to give you some samples of what this looks like that will help people, that will serve them before they buy with you. How can you serve them until they're ready to buy? So here's some examples. Shifco does these events. Guess what? People tell you about the events, you're aware. You attend the event, you decide if you're interested. If you want to go further, you're going to tell us. But these are great strategies for awareness and interest. And one of my other businesses, that was the first business I started, Succeed on Purpose, we use quizzes. And these quizzes are so popular. We get 30, 40, 50 leads a month. We don't spend $1 on ads. It just is basically they're popular and people share them. So two very different strategies. We have a couple of quizzes in Shifco. They're good, but none of them are as good as this business. And again, the purpose of them is not to get someone to buy. It's to serve people before they buy. Now, the trick is I love teaching. So I love doing events. I love building these quizzes. I love building these tools. I love thinking through what are the things that I can give somebody that is going to serve them so that they can get to know me better. So there's no purpose. There's no buy now today type of language there. One of my investments, Your Izzy, what we built for them, so we also do their marketing, is we built a calculator that said, what's the environmental impact of your beauty routine? And you can go in and put information in, and it will tell you every time you use that mascara and throw it away, here's what it's doing to the environment. It's going to be there X amount of years, and it calculates your negative footprint, based on the plastics that are in your beauty routine. It's powerful. That quiz is very popular. Another one of our clients, Acme Brick, fell in love with this idea. They built this little tool called the Masonry Designer, and they built it. We just basically were talking about the strategy. And this is hugely popular where people can go in and they can build their dream walls and pretty much kind of figure everything out and figure out what the color needs to be, combine it and print it out and set it up next to the wall. So that's an example of serving people before you buy. So real simple examples. Lastly is when you do this, if you also share these things with your current clients, all of our Shifco members, the several hundred Shifco members that we have today, they get to attend these free events. We ask them, hey, if you like these events, share them with your target market, and they do that. And so what we get is we get a lot of our Shifco members referring people and talking about these events because they're valuable, not because we've asked them to get us more clients, but because they know they're things of value. And that's how it works. And speaking of that, I'm going to come full circle, then I'm going to turn off the recording and see if there's any other questions. 2 powerful events. Tuesday, September 10th, 10K challenge. If your business is not above 10K, we're going to walk you through a roadmap to help you do that. Difference Maker Toolkit is something new that we're working on. This is a positioning point that we're testing. We believe that our target market wants to grow their business and make a difference. And so we're giving them some specific strategies. There's also another event later in September on pure confidence. And we're going to give you a framework to get some of those voices out of your head and work on confidence. And that's how it works. And so good to serve you guys. And I'm going to stop the recording and see if there's any questions. And